Herzlich willkommen. No, it's in English this time. Welcome to the program. My name is Philip Banse from the Republica 2014 in Berlin. My next guest is Balázs Bodó. Welcome to the program.
Thank
you are a piracy researcher at the University of Amsterdam.
I am, yes.
Is it the official title? I'm a piracy researcher, or is it more like copyright infringement?
No,
evaluation.
I'm a social scientist. I have a background in economics and in sociology and media studies, a little bit of law, and I'm dealing with the cultural black markets. And I think it's the moniker piracy researcher is more to the point than defining myself as an economist or a socio-legal researcher, which I am according to the more traditional disciplinary categories.
You talked about shadow libraries here.
I did, yeah.
What are shadow libraries?
Shadow libraries are black market for scientific books. We have
digital form.
Digital format, yeah, absolutely. An informal market infrastructure for distributing print material in digital formats.
Is it books or journals or both or papers?
Books, journals, comics, magazines. My focus is on scientific knowledge, so I'm interested in science books and journals. But there are a number of other categories that are also present.
And how many shadow libraries are there?
Well, it depends on the culture, the language, the size. I believe every person in the academia has faced at one point in his career the problem. I want my students to read this. How do I give them the text? And so this is a very wide spectrum that ranges from in classroom distributed USB sticks where the syllabus and the reading materials, the course materials are being shared across students.
Which you would consider already a shadow library then?
Absolutely,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Within the institution, text repositories where people collect relevant texts for their work, to global English language or Chinese or Spanish language or German language text archives, which have a much wider audience and a much wider contributor base.
Okay. This USB stick circulating within a group of students, it's understandable. I know how it works. But where are these bigger libraries, like publicly accessible, I don't know, English language, scientific book libraries? Where are they?
Where is the Pirate Bay? Who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's the one effect of the enforcement and this increased effort to somehow catch these markets was to make them disperse technologically. So where the servers are, who those people are, it's less and less important because there is less and less control over them. And it's also, like in the Netherlands where I come from, they try to filter the access to certain sites. I see that Tor is Tor is increasingly important to
the network to anonymize
access to access these sites. So the where is not really important anymore.
Okay, and do I need to use Tor to access these sites like those shadow drug markets, Silk Road and Silk Road 2? I had to. These sites are not like easily surfable in your browser, but you have to use some techniques like Tor to access those sites.
That's a very interesting question. You can, of course, and you have an option to do so, but you are not required to. And the shadow libraries that I'm dealing with took a step beyond. What you see in most of these informal, illegal domains is that there is a very strong control over the actual resource, the library, the collection, the site, the database, the interface. There is one technical guy, one administrator, a small group of people who make sure that even if you can download whatever you want, you cannot download the whole. You don't have access to the whole. And the libraries that I'm looking at the moment follow a completely different approach that mimics Wikipedia. You can have access to the whole of the Wikipedia. You can copy the database. You can copy the content. You can take it away. You can do whatever you want to. And this is the logic that that characterizes scientific shadow libraries as well. Is you can go there. You can download a single book, or you can download the whole database and the 1 terabyte collection if you want to, and do something with it. And that's very important.
This is also a field where this former hacker Aaron Swartz was pretty active. He died recently, but he became well known for downloading large scientific volumes of JSTOR.
Exactly, and we don't know where what was his plan with it, but we know that he penned the Guerrilla Open Access Manifesto in 2008, I guess. And around that time, that was when Gigapedia, now defunct pirate library, was started. So that's a very interesting interplay between theory that Aaron Swartz has formulated with his Guerrilla Open Access ID and the actual realization of that ID in form of a library that gives free access to scientific knowledge for everyone.
You already started to characterize those libraries, so they are more like publicly available. Everyone can download everything, just a piece or a whole book or the whole library. And what makes these public points for sharing those books so interesting for you?
Well, I not only know what's being offered through these libraries. That is very interesting in itself. What kind of disciplines are there and what are missing from these libraries, because it's because accessibility shapes consciousness, or knowledge shapes consciousness. So what's available, what's missing from these libraries is missing from the discourse as well. It's an imperative for a good academic library to have a wide range of topics and a wide range of books. And it's the same challenge with shadow libraries. So it's interesting to see what's missing, and interesting to see what kind of disciplines are overrepresented.
Okay, what disciplines are overrepresented and which are missing?
For example, arts, humanities are very underrepresented. Language, very underrepresented. Social sciences, okay. Natural sciences are very high, very well covered. So it's interesting. English language books, academic Anglo-Saxon academic mainstream is there. German knowledge, French academic production, Spanish language academic production is missing. And if it's missing, then it will be missing from those who want to access it.
But how important are these shadow libraries? I mean, it's a niche phenomena for, I don't know, couple of hundred people, or is it really widely used and really able to shape the form and the content of the discourse by providing certain books and information and by not providing other information?
I have usage data from 2 years ago. At that time, around 25,000 books were downloaded each day.
Each day?
Each day from one of the mirrors out of many, out of a number. So multiply that by at least 2, 3, and that's daily consumption. And this knowledge flows.
And this is not Harry Potter.
This is Foucault. This is Introduction to Analytics. This is high-level scientific knowledge, and it flows all over the globe, from China to India, to Indonesia, to Iran, to Iraq, to Iceland, to the Baltic states, to Germany, to Africa, to the US.
Okay, it's not only developing countries who seek access to free information. No.
It's a very strange and eclectic mix of highly developed countries with highly developed book markets, with rich higher education, with rich public libraries, with rich academic libraries, who probably have physical access to the books themselves, right? But they don't lack. What they lack is electronic access, and a long list of developing countries which If they have access to the print, it's probably too expensive for them. If they have in the first place, and electronic access, we don't even have to mention it. So there is an historically unprecedented flow of knowledge, redistribution of knowledge happening in this underground that has not happened since the Enlightenment and the pirates that distributed the Enlightenment in Europe during the 18th century. It's unprecedented, and we cannot underestimate the impact this will have on not just the higher education and the scientific research in China, in Indonesia, in developing countries all over the world, but because it's open access, open to everyone, to each and every individual who wants to have access to these discourses. It's incredible.
And what do you think will be the impact?
Well, I won't be able to quote the manifesto of these pirate or shadow librarians verbatim, but what they think is that having access to knowledge is the first and ultimate step towards a more equitable, more peaceful, more just society, both locally and globally. Education is the key to every better society. It's not an accident that any fundamentalist religious madman first want to stop educating young girls, look at what's happening with the Nigerian terrorists, or what's happening with the Taliban. Education is the first and last of the gatekeepers towards a more equitable society. And the hope is that having access to this knowledge is a big step towards a better society. I'm not that optimistic because I know that a book, a PDF itself, it's not enough. You need the infrastructure, you need the environment, the teachers, the classrooms, the fellow students, the whole discourse. But at least it's a very strong first step.
But still, in many places, it's, I would suppose, technically illegal to provide them, at least online, isn't it?
It's patently illegal. Yeah.
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 And what does the publishers say? Do they crack down on those libraries, or?
They have already cracked down one, that was Gigapedia. It was shut down due to legal action early 2012. Publishers brought it down. I think that's an issue that's really not that should not be really an issue for the publishers, because I think in the academic publishing, most of the money is coming from library sales and selling access to libraries. It's not that you buy a €100 work on high-level mathematics for yourself, right? It's not where the bulk of the money comes from. It's not like music, or it's not like movies. Money flows in from institutional sales, and no respectable library will say that, okay, dear Springer, I won't buy your database because I have these wonderful pirate libraries. So I don't think it's a real issue for publishers. Nevertheless, they are scared, and I can understand that. And it's a non-issue for individual authors. Those people who write books in science, they are not doing it for the zillions of dollars they will make in that market. They want to have readers, and these sites provide them readers and citations and everything. And as I asked the same question from these pirate librarians, they say that they listen to authors. They don't receive complaints from authors. They receive complaints from publishers, but since their mission is to liberate academic or scientific knowledge from behind these gatekeepers and paywalls, they don't really care.
I mean, the big difference between the movie, music, etc. industry and the scientific industry, may forget it's most often. I don't know mostly, but often publicly financed scientists who write something, then sometimes have to pay the publishers to make a book. Then the publishers sell it back to libraries, publicly funded libraries. So the public pays twice. Once for the production, and then a second time
for the access.
For the access. Yeah. And only this repackaging, editing, of course. Yeah. But even the peer review is often done by publicly funded scientists.
Yep.
So that's where this movement, open access, comes from.
Yep.
But how does this shadow libraries and the open access movement fit together?
Open access is a very well-behaved version of what shadow librarians do. The open access crowd do not want to venture into the illegal domain. They want to educate publishers, they want to educate authors, scientists to do the right thing and raise as few barriers in front of access as it is possible. Shadow librarians are the radicals of this domain, and they are willing and able to venture into this space where the open access movement is not willing to or cannot go. And I think they are shifting the debate. If this is the status quo with the access problems, and open access is an ideal that we are heading to, and reality is somewhere here, then you need a strong point of gravity of these shadow librarians to shift. Right?
Are there really that strong center of gravity?
I think they are. Given the size and the impact of these libraries, I think they will be able to shape the future of distribution and production as much as Napster was able to shape current Spotify and how publishers and recording companies are dealing with Spotify. Right? It took 15 years for the recording industry to accept the fact that money is coming from a all-you-can-eat flat-rate model, but without Napster it wouldn't have had happened, or without Grokster or Kazaa and all those pirates who were consistently providing a very strong alternative to what was in the strategies of the music industry. And I think it's the same logic with academic publishing. You have a very strong momentum, centuries-old momentum of academic scientific publishing. You have the clear alternative, open access, but you need the shadow librarians for the status quo to really be able to accept that if we make this compromise with the open access, then it's a good enough compromise, and it's a much better compromise than the other one that is being the shadow libraries.
And do you focus only on scientific exchange of copyrighted material, or can you also say something about film and music? Because sometimes it's argumented like, well, on the one hand people say, like Game of Thrones, it's the most pirated series ever, but it boosts sales. And the other side argues, no, we lose sales, that's not right. What is your point?
I don't think it makes sense to talk about piracy in itself, because it's not a monolithic phenomenon. There are a plethora of piracies, and you have to, in order to deal with it, with any of it, you have to understand the very concrete, very precise reasons that generate black market. And it's a fairly obvious point that black markets emerge when legal markets have some kind of an obstacle, and it's true for arms trade, it's true for sex trade, it's true for drugs trade, and it's true for piracies as well. is that if there is there is a problem somewhere in the legal market, then black markets step in and fill in the. So piracy or black markets are not the problem; they are the symptoms of a problem at the legal market. And if you look at who downloads, for what reason, from where, from which background, for what justifications, you're able to pinpoint those problems which make them to do so, which make them to turn to black markets. And this is what I'm doing, not just with scientific books, but also with music, with films. And lack of good legal alternatives is always there as one of the key reasons for cultural black markets. If you don't have good enough legal access at an affordable price, then you will see black markets emerging. And it's true for Game of Thrones, it's true for Madonna, it's true for all types of content. And this is what you see with Spotify and with the music market, is that if you have good enough alternatives, they are able to actually cannibalize these black markets. And it's a very strong argument coming from those services that where they are present on markets where they are present, piracy rates actually go down.
And they do go down in the music market?
They do go down, yeah.
And in which stage is the film market, the video market?
And that's the big problem, is that Netflix is coming. There are a number of video services emerging in Europe that provide legal access to films, but it's far from being as good as Spotify is in music. The catalogs are small and fragmented. Digital rights is a nightmare.
There are long delays.
So the legal alternatives in the digital film market are far from being good enough to destroy black markets, and you can see that. Music. A colleague of mine at the Institute for Information Law just measured this, and it's a paper available. Elvis has left the building. That's the title, or is back in the building, and it just shows that music piracy is down, film piracy is rising. Good music services are there and they are growing. Good video services are missing, and these two phenomena are strongly correlated. Video piracy is growing because there is.
But how are the incentives? I mean, one might think, well, if the film industry sees what happened on the music market, it's obvious where the train is going. So why are they still sticking with those obstacles? Is there another interest at hand here?
That's a very good question. I think it would not be wise to lump up all the different stakeholders and think of them as they have the same interest. There are as many authors or rights holders as many pirates, right? And for some, they want to. They counted the beans and they say that it's more profitable at this moment to keep up these obstacles. I don't think people at HBO are dumb. They have very good reasons to keep Game of Thrones from being available. I don't know the numbers that make them to do so, but I believe that they have good reasons. And there are others who have very clearly understood that for that type of product they are producing, the good strategy is to have a wide cinema distribution, and then after 2 months, when all the cinemas are out, have it on Netflix, have it on Amazon Prime, have it on wherever you can, because that's the next window. And it might be right. And there are other people, art house, cinema makers, who need to tour the festivals, right? So it takes 2 years to tour all the festivals, and for that period, they even if they wanted to, they cannot release.
I think it's even. Would you agree if one would say, well, it's okay. It's okay if someone pulls out the calculator and says, well, for us it's more profitable to keep those films locked down to see to delay them 6 months, 2 years before they're published in Europe because we make more money. That's okay. If they weren't on the other side demanding very strict legal crackdowns on those black market guys. If they would say, well, okay, there's a black market, we accept it, and if we catch someone, well, he gets a fine. But if they demand the surveillance of whole networks just to keep their business model alive, that's the problem, I would say.
I think it's also a question of how you communicate with your fans, right? This was the mantra of the music industry, is that you shouldn't alienate your fans. We did a survey, and we are in the middle of that project, where in the Netherlands we asked people questions regarding a license that would legalize file sharing. In Germany, it's Kulturflatrate or Lizenz Global. There are a number of names under which this file sharing license goes. And we asked whether they would be able to, how much would they be willing to pay, but we also asked them what are the restrictions they are willing to accept. And we found is that, of course, they prefer full catalog. They want to have access to everything, but they are very much willing to accept a limitation, a temporary limitation on what's accessible under a file sharing license. They are willing to accept that if rights holders want to make money in cinemas, or they want to make money on CDs, or they want to have some grace period, 6 months, a year, where they don't make things available on freely under the internet, it's okay. We don't punish them for this. So it's a very interesting study for this very reason, because I have not expected that consumers would be so...
But it's the same thing with Spotify. You cannot do everything with the music you buy on Spotify.
Yeah.
You can access them, yes. It's not that cheap, yes. But you cannot... you can download some for offline use, but you can use it only in the Spotify app. And you have lots of obstacles using the music, but still it's accepted.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to move here with the compromise, is that for centuries and centuries, rights holders enjoyed a complete control over how they conduct business. And now consumers are much more powerful because there is a powerful alternative. If I don't like your terms, I'm not doomed to sit alone in the dark at home, but I have I can punish you, right? And this is a new situation under which rights holders need to accept the fact that they have to negotiate, and they have to give in, and they have to find a point where they are willing to compromise.
One last question on those shadow libraries. Who is running them? Did you meet them?
No.
No.
I'm not asking such questions. They are shading their identities.
Okay.
I know that many of them are Russian academics who and it's a super interesting history. I've written upon it, and it's a story of how post-Soviet Russia, liberated from censorship, from economic limits on access, with a very strong will and a very strong momentum to catch up with the rest of the world, started to digitize science like a madman, and started to digitize everything like a madman, because they were free to do so, because there were no censors anymore to prevent them so, which led to the development of huge digital caches of knowledge and text in this Russian segment of the internet, which slowly led to the development of these shadow libraries. So it's a very interesting interplay of culture, of history, of censorship, of the specificities of Russian law, legal law enforcement, liberation, a story of freedom, which has happened in other parts of the world to a different extent, but in Russia, many things happened at the same time. So this post-Soviet
The
liberation,
momentum
the momentum
was
happened alongside with the appearance of the internet, right?
right.
Yeah.
That's
With
not only that they get rid of censorship and political restrictions, but
But-
at the same time the internet grew, right?
Exactly. And probably I would expect that East Germany could have run the same
Yeah.
path had it not been West Germany there importing some of the technologies. And I've seen, for example, with the pirate libraries that having access to photocopy
Yeah,
machines in many countries prevented the evolution of internet libraries, because it's still the photocopy market that fulfills the role of this underground distribution. And in Russia, in Soviet Union, having access to photocopies was not something that was very frequent. So photocopy could not monopolize this informal sphere. It was already the computer that served this role. And in other countries, in Latin America, in India, the same underground distribution of text takes place. It's all right. It happens, but it's done through photocopies rather than through the internet. Still, so it's technology, it's politics, it's law, it's society, it's history. All these waves meeting in this one very unique moment in time and space, which enabled the existence of these.
Great. Do you have a blog? Do you publish somewhere?
Warsystems.hu.
Okay.
I do.
Great. Very
Thank you
interesting.
very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. This is DCTP from the Republica 2014. My name is Philip Banse. Stay tuned and watch all the videos at dctp.tv or our YouTube channel from DCTP. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.